Hey guys, what's up? It's Nancy with T-Cell Logic here with another case today. Thank you for joining me. And today we have my little baby Jasmine. This Jasmine, she's so cute. It is really hot where I live today, and I think it's like 93 degrees or something Fahrenheit. I don't know how much that is in Celsius. But it's 93 in Fahrenheit. So if I probably look really sweaty and gross, but that's why. It's because it's like 93 degrees. So I apologize. Say hi, Jasmine. Alright guys, so today I have a case coming from Japan. Let's get right into it. I hope you enjoy. Okay. So why would someone wait 20 years to come forward with information they have regarding the disappearance of two girls? Even then, why would it take the police an additional 6 years to actually look into these tips that they'd received from these witnesses? Let's take a look into this haunting story of Narumi Takumi and Megumi Yashiki. So Yashiki and Takumi were both 19 when they went missing, and they lived out in Himi City, Japan. So it was Golden Week on this May 5th, 1996. Megumi and Narumi had told their family about plans to go out to Uozu City to go to an abandoned and supposedly haunted hotel out there. So Uozu City is about 60 kilometers or 37 miles east of Himi City. Hotel Subono is a hotel that is located near some hot springs out in Uozu City. It is 6 stories tall, and it is known to be haunted. It is definitely abandoned, that's for sure. But at the time, it was seen kind of like a test of courage, or like a courage test to go out there and explore the hotel at night, which is exactly what Megumi and Narumi wanted to do this evening. So just some background on Hotel Subono. At one point, it was a really beautiful resort near the hot springs, but sometime in the late 1980s, the owners of the hotel had disappeared after filing for bankruptcy. The property was then sold at an auction for about 35 million yen, and well, it just kind of stood there. They didn't really do anything with it after they bought it at the auction, and it was eventually just sitting there in disrepair, and it ended up becoming a hangout spot for, younger people, and supposedly the Bozozukus would hang out there, which is a youth biker gang, from what I understand, and you definitely don't want to mess with the Bozozukus. So this wasn't the first time the girls had gone out to Hotel Subono. However, this time they went better prepared. They made sure to bring their flashlights, some extra batteries, and Narumi even brought along her pen light. Based on some pictures I was able to find online of Hotel Subono, it does look pretty creepy, especially if you're out there at night. It's your average abandoned haunted hotel. It has graffiti all over the walls. It's falling apart. The walls are almost falling over. The pillars are in disrepair. There's an elevator that goes nowhere, and it's dark. So the hotel is on its last leg. It's still scary nonetheless. It would freak me out just knowing that it's abandoned, and that it's in an isolated area and it's at night. That would scare me. Now, it's unclear if investigators actually looked at the property to see if the girls had gone missing from there. And this will all make sense at the end, I hope. The thing with this case is there's not too much information out there. And I imagine a lot of the information about this case is in Japanese, and I don't read Japanese and I don't speak Japanese. So I was able to find most of my information from online newspaper called the Tokyo Reporter. Moving on. So anyway, with visiting an abandoned haunted hotel at night, I can only imagine that Narumi and Megumi were a little spooked after having gone to that hotel. I mean, I definitely would be spooked out if I went to a hotel. I'd probably carry that feeling with me throughout the evening. And you'll understand why I say this in a little bit. The girls did not actually go missing at the hotel. The setting for this case is actually a lot closer to their home in Himi City. This case ends up taking place out in Imizu City, well, specifically a parking lot at Kayomaru Park. And I'll post a picture of the park here on the screen because the park is different from what I would imagine a park to look like, at least here in the United States. You know, the mental image I have of parks is they're very, grassy. There's a lot of trees, there's a playground. But from the pictures, the park over at Kayomaru is significantly different than what I'm used to. And it'll help with, the context of the story and just, getting a mental picture of what it is could have happened to these two ladies on that evening. Himi City, which is where they lived, is about 13 kilometers or 8 miles from Imizu. At some point after they left the Hotel Subono, Megumi and Narumi ended up in Kayomaru Park near the Fushigi port. So great. That's so great, it's my other dog. So at some point after they left the Hotel Subono, they ended up at Kayomaru Park near the Fushigi port. And apparently at that time, Kayomaru Park was a popular hangout spot for younger people. So I can imagine maybe after visiting the hotel, they had gone out to this park to hang out with some of their friends, or maybe they went out there with, friends that they had gone to the hotel with. I wasn't able to find any specifics regarding, their visit to the park and if they were there with anyone or if they knew anyone at the park that evening. But that's where it ended up taking place. Let's go over a timeline for this evening on May 5th, 1996. So the timeline that day is roughly this. At 9 p.m., they left Himi City going towards Uozu, which is where Hotel Subono is located. And at around 10 p.m., they filled up with gas at a gas station in Uozu City. I'm not sure if they went to the hotel before or after they got gas. I wasn't able to find information regarding these specifics either. But we do know that the last contact anyone had with the two girls was when they had sent a message via a pager. This is 1996, so cell phones weren't really a thing back then. They had their pagers. The last message the girls had sent out was one that said, "We are in Uozu." Other sources that I was able to find say, "We are going to Uozu." So I'm not sure if it was, "We are in Uozu" or "We are going to Uozu." Nonetheless, one of those two messages was the last contact anyone ever had with the two girls. And also, I'm not sure what time they sent the message, which is why, I'm not sure if it was before or after they went to the hotel. I imagine it was about 9:30 or 10-ish that they sent the message. Anyway, after this, no one would hear from the girls. They never arrived home that evening. After 2 days, their families reported them missing to the police. So for years and years, there were no clues in this case. Rumors about what ended up happening to these two ladies range from, maybe they were abducted by North Korean authorities or North Korean agents. Another was that they were possibly raped and killed by a gang of bosozukus. These rumors went around until 2014. So in 2014, the Japanese police force found out about 3 possible witnesses. So you would think that with these witnesses and these tips from these witnesses who were supposedly there the night that these girls went missing and actually saw what happened to them, the police would be jumping all over this and immediately investigating these tips. Well, that didn't happen. They ended up waiting a very long time to actually look into these tips from the witnesses. So the police started investigating these tips in 2020. So this was just last year. So according to these witnesses, at around midnight back on May 5th, 1996, they saw two girls inside of a parked car at Kayumaru Park. Upon seeing these two girls, one in the driver's side and one in the passenger side, so they began approaching the vehicle to speak with the two girls, when suddenly the car started moving backwards and fell into the water. There's no information as to why they were approaching the girls to begin with, but keep in mind that they were at Hotel Subono a little bit before they went to the park. So seeing three people approach your car while you're parked at a park at midnight may have spooked them and caused a frightened driver to believe that maybe they were in drive when actually they were in reverse. It happens all the time. It's even happened to me where, if I'm in a rush or whatever, I'll think that I'm in a certain gear when really I'm not, and you know. And I can certainly imagine how they may have felt seeing three people walking towards their cars. I'm not sure if these three witnesses were males or females. I mean, either way, it would still be a little creepy, when you're at night, at this park and you're not expecting anyone to come over and talk to you. And then all of a sudden you see these three people approaching your car wanting to talk to you for some reason, for some really weird reason. I couldn't find any information as to why they wanted to talk to the girls. I would love to know what it is they wanted to talk to them about. So again, why were the girls at the park that night? Well, it's speculated that maybe they were there hanging out with some friends or other people they knew. And of course, it was a known hangout spot. So nonetheless, the witnesses who were approaching the girls in their vehicle ended up getting scared at the sight of seeing the car go into the water. They remained silent for years and years. Can you imagine knowing such information about the disappearance of two girls? Could you imagine knowing that information for such a long time? It would certainly eat me up knowing that I knew what it is happened to these two girls that were missing, but being too scared to come forward just seems like something I'd rather do than sit there and holding it in my conscience. But that's just me. I know laws in Japan are a lot different. One interesting fact about the Japanese criminal law is that there's a statute of limitations for murder, and that statute of limitations is 20 years. Very interesting, if you ask me. Upon coming forward, these witnesses would not be able to be tried in court, as the statute of limitations would have passed at that time. Is this why they came forward? I don't know, but it's very convenient timing. I've also read that the witnesses choosing to remain silent for so long may have had something to do with the cultural situation in Japan, where a lot of times the witnesses prefer to remain silent due to the ruthlessness of the Japanese police. Also, there's certain stigmas relating to certain crimes involving drugs, alcohol, crimes against morality, those kinds of things. And, I don't understand it, but I don't live in Japan. I've never been to Japan, but I can certainly see how that cultural situation would hold someone back from coming forward with valuable information regarding a crime, especially if these young people were out there drinking or doing drugs, stuff that, a lot of young people do. So back to the investigation. The police finally decided on March 4th, 2020 to begin pursuing this lead, and so they began a survey of the water, which included the use of metal detectors and divers. Fortunately, during the search, they located the vehicle. Megumi's vehicle was located at a depth of about 8 meters. It was recovered from the seabed on March 4th, 2020 at about noon. Inside the vehicle, there were skeletal remains. In addition to the skeletal remains, investigators did find a credit card for a gas station, and it is believed this is the card that Megumi had used to purchase gas that evening. The skeletal remains were sent back for DNA analysis, and it was confirmed that they did indeed belong to Megumi and Narumi. So these witnesses were definitely there that night that they went into the water, which is just so odd. Especially the way the park is laid out. With the parking area, it seems like there's like some like concrete barriers before you actually get to the water. I don't know if those barriers were there back in 1996. I imagine they were as a precaution for this type of stuff, you know, not to happen, because, you know, it happens. So, I don't know. It just seems really weird. The whole parking lot, the whole being at Kayumaru Park at midnight, and then the 3 witnesses approaching them for some reason, probably scaring them, and then Megumi's attempt in possibly driving off and, you know, going into the wrong transmission and then reversing back into the water, which is all just speculation. I don't actually know that this happened. Somehow they ended up in that water, and I have a strong feeling that those 3 witnesses might have had something to do with them going into the water one way or another. Of course, there's gotta be more to this story, but it seems that the Japanese police have determined after interviewing these witnesses multiple times that there is no foul play. It was ruled an accident by the Toyama Prefectural Police. The police said the alleged witnesses were interviewed multiple times. We know that the car fell into the sea for some reason, but at this time, foul play is not suspected. With all that being said, let's revisit and analyze their drive that night. They're driving 37 miles, give or take, from Himi City to Uozu. So that would take about 45 minutes roughly. If they left their home at 9 p.m., they probably arrived in Uozu, which is where the hotel is, at about 9:45 or 10. So let's just say they spent an hour there, driving back at 11. So if they got there at 10, let's say they drove back at 11. They would have arrived at the park at midnight, which is consistent with the witnesses' statements regarding the night that they saw the girls at the park and they were approaching them, not thinking that it would creep them out, which it sounds like it did creep them out. Yashiki's father has had doubts about the police investigation and about the witnesses too. This is what he says. I don't trust the witnesses at all. I don't know who they are, and I have asked the police, but they won't tell me. Of course, as a father who lost his daughter, he wants the investigation to continue, which is completely understandable. Even so, the police can't really do anything without evidence, so, you know, it's kind of hard to move forward with an investigation, especially after 20 years. Or actually, no, by this time it'd be 24. No, was it 6? 2014? No, that'd be 6. So after 26 years, there's only so far you can get with an investigation. I mean, granted, they had the witnesses that have come forward, but let's not forget the statute of limitations for murder in Japan is 20 years. Yashiki's mother, her poor mom, her statements are so heartfelt. You can hear the pain in her voice. This is what she had to say. So it was so long ago, said 60-year-old mother of Yashiki. I had a hope that she was doing fine and living somewhere else, so I was puzzled to learn of the discovery of the car. I feel so sorry that she existed in such a cold place for so long. She remembers her daughter as being gentle and the one who helped around in the kitchen. She adds, "Why did her car drop into the sea?" I'll have to wait for the results of the investigation. Sadly, answers as to what exactly happened to Megumi and Narumi that evening may never come to light. It doesn't seem like this investigation is really a priority to the police. Again, with the statute of limitations, and also that there was no foul play suspected and that this was an accident. They have said that they'll investigate it if they need to in the future. I don't know why they would need to after 20 years. So it's pretty sad that they might never know exactly what happened. And as a parent, that would be devastating. But I guess they were able to get some closure with the witnesses actually coming forward after all this time, and they were able to find their vehicle in the seabed. So I guess, they have that as closure. Yeah, so that's how that case ends or goes. What do you think happened? Why do you think these three witnesses were approaching their vehicle? Do you think that they got scared when they saw that these three people were walking towards them, wanting to talk to them? Do you think that maybe they thought it was the Bolsuzukus? Or maybe they thought they would get in trouble if maybe they were drinking? Who knows? Who really knows what happened? But it's just so incredibly sad. I just couldn't imagine being a parent and having that happen to my daughter. That would just eat me up. Anyway, let me know what you think. I really want to know what your opinion is on this case. Feel free to leave some comments if you like. If you don't, that's fine. If you'd like to subscribe. If you liked the video, tell me about it. If you didn't, tell me. Let me know if there's any cases you would like me to cover. I'd be happy to take some suggestions. But yeah, that does it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch this video. And I hope to see you next time on the next video. In the meantime, take care, stay safe, and have a good day. Bye, guys.